Good morning, distinguished invitees, esteemed academics, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great honor that we welcome you to the International Conference on Business Management ICBM 2026, organized by the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, University of Sri Jayewardenepura, in collaboration with the Postgraduate Institute of Management. We also acknowledge the gracious presence of His Excellence, Dr. Purna Bahadur Nepali, the Ambassador of Nepal to Sri Lanka. We warmly welcome you, sir. Before we proceed, it is my privilege to acknowledge the presence of the delegates at the head table. Senior Professor Padmalal M. Manage, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura.
Prof. Dushan Jayavikrama, the Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of University of Sri Jayewardenepura.
Professor Subhash Abhayawansa, the keynote speaker of our main conference.
Dr. Isuru Manavadu and Dr. Sepali Bamunusingha, the co-chairs of the 22nd International Conference on Business Management 2026. ICBM forms a key pillar of our research week, which commenced yesterday with the Undergraduate Research Day, showcasing the research potential and innovation of our emerging scholars. In addition, we have successfully held 3 pre-conferences and the HDR Higher Degree by Research competition in line with the National Pitching Research competition. The momentum continues with the main conference and its mini-conferences scheduled for today, followed by the PhD colloquium to be held tomorrow that will provide a platform for rigorous scholarly dialogue and mentorship. The week further extends to PMARC at the Postgraduate Institute of Management and will conclude in the Business Forum at the Hilton Hotel Colombo, bringing academia and industry together in a meaningful exchange of knowledge, practice, and forward-looking insight.
We are also proud to highlight that this year's conference features a distinguished collaboration with the Scopus Indexed Q1 journal, Sustainability, Accounting, Management and Policy Journal. As part of this collaboration, this journal will host a special issue titled Accounting, Reporting, Assurance and Governance for Circular Economy, Rethinking Sustainable Development, dedicated for our conference. In addition, selected papers will have the opportunity to be considered for special issues in the Journal of Business Research and Insights, Asian Journal of Marketing Management, Sri Lankan Journal of Management, International Journal of Governance and Public Policy Analysis, Journal of Real Estate Studies, and the Journal of Contemporary Perspectives in Accounting and Digitalization. Together, these partnerships will significantly elevate the global academic visibility, scholarly value, and the research impact of this conference, further positioning it as a leading platform for cutting-edge research and international engagement.
Today, under the theme Inclusive and Responsible Management for Circular Economy and Digital Future, we come together to examine how businesses can foster sustainability, ethical leadership, and digital innovation in an interconnected world.
This conference brings together thought leaders, researchers, industry professionals to exchange ideas, challenge perspectives, and collaboratively shape the future where economic progress, social responsibility, and technological advancement move forward in harmony. As we warmly welcome all who have joined with us, both physically and virtually via our live stream with us today, we now invite you all to rise for the University Anthem as we begin today's proceedings.
Sri Jayewardenepura Saraswati, Sri Namayandava Romutuni. Inauguration Sumangul Samidun, Benedicti Sri Lanka Pindarandeyani Srinivasa Mahaganagare Sri Jayewardenepura Sarasari Sri Namayarandavam Nomutune Ayuktiyedi Vivadashiri Asatyayedi Vicharashiri Niyat Sabhamed Samajashiri Niyatun Vidaya Povalavu Sri Lanka Pindarandeyani Srinivasa Mahaganagare Sri Jayewardenepura Sarasari Sri Namayarandavam Nomutune Vichau Patatam Setta Vichau Patatam Setta Vichau Patatam Setta
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let us begin by welcoming this distinguished gathering. To do the honors of delivering the welcome speech, I cordially invite Dr. Isru Manavadu, co-chair of ICBM 2026.
Good morning, everyone. As co-chairs of the 22nd International Conference on Business Management, ICBM 2026, it is our privilege to warmly welcome every one of you to the second day of ICBM Research Week 2026, organized by the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, University of Sri Jayewardenepura. We are especially honored by the presence of Ambassador of Nepal to Sri Lanka, His Excellency Dr. Purna Bahadur Nepali, our Vice Chancellor, Senior Professor Padmalal M. Manage, the Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, Professor Dushan Jayavikrama, the Director of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, the distinguished Deans of other faculties, the keynote speaker today, Dr. Professor Subhash Abhayawansa, esteemed academics of University of Sri Jayewardenepura, esteemed academics of Postgraduate Institute of Management, and all other distinguished invitees, your presence greatly enriches this occasion. This year's conference is convened under the theme Inclusive and Responsible Management for a Circular Economy and Digital Future. The theme reflects the pressing social economic needs of our country and the wider global context, highlighting the importance of sustainable, inclusive, and digitally responsive management practices. Through this conference, we seek to align scholarly engagement with national priorities and emerging global realities. This year's conference, we received 214 full papers and filtered 113 papers for presentation after a comprehensive review process, including a desk review. Since its inception in 2001, ICBM has evolved into key academic forum where academia, industry, and policymakers converge to engage in meaningful dialogue on contemporary management issues. We are pleased to recognize the significant scholarly effort invested in organizing this year's conference. We also wish to sincerely acknowledge all scholars who have contributed their research to this conference, as well as all those who supported the operationalization of this research week, including the organizing committees, academic and administrative staff, sponsors, and student volunteers whose collective effort made this event possible. We warmly welcome you all and wish you a productive and intellectually enriching ICBM Research Week 2026. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And it's our privilege to welcome Senior Professor Padmalal M. Manage, the esteemed leader of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, and also our Vice Chancellor. We are honored to have you with us today, sir, and look forward to your address. The stage is yours.
Very good morning to all. His Excellency Dr. the Purna Bahadur, the Nepali Ambassador of Nepal to Sri Lanka, and the Professor Dushan Jayavikrama, Dean Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, and all the Deans of the faculties, and Dr. Asanga, Director, Postgraduate Institute of Management, and Professor Subhash Abhayawansa, today keynote speaker, and esteemed senior professors, most senior professor in the Faculty of Management Studies, Professor Opath is here. And today I am very happy because this is a very important event in our academic calendar. The research, as a researcher, I promote research. So it is a must for a national and institute, because without research, so we can't develop an institute or we can't disseminate our research finding to the national development. So that is what my main the vision as a leader. So thank you very much all academic members of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, and I can see the very high number of academics from the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, and the academic community from the Institute of Management, PIM, Postgraduate Institute of Management. That is also our strength, the University of Sri Jayewardenepura. And also I want to welcome the representative from University Grant Commission, a commission member, the Professor Hemamali Gunatilak also here with us, and the librarian, registrar, and all administrative staff members, and very importantly paper presenters in today's conference. So I am so happy, as I mentioned, and also it is very honor for me to address in this very special gathering at the 22nd International Conference on Business Management. So I think over the years the conference has grown in strength and reputation, so that today it stands as a respected international platform that brings together academics, professionals, policymakers, and industrial partners from across the region and beyond. So that is our main objective, to inculcate research culture within the university. So then I truly encourage to see such diverse and distinguished audience gathered here, share their commitment, their knowledge and innovation and responsible leadership. So when I see the today theme of the conference, it says inclusive and responsible management for circular economy and digital future. It is timely important topic to discuss with academics and industrial partners and policymakers, because in past, so we did research as an isolate group. So that is now it is completely different. So we have to promote and we have to inculcate transdisciplinary research in a institute, because So this topic says the inclusive and responsible management. So that is timely important because we have to work from all disciplines. So the management, not isolated research or the not isolation, we have to work with other faculties, other disciplines and the communities and social groups in decision making. So this also emphasize equity, diversity and participation rather than made a decision by a limited people or an individual. So that is, so then inclusive responsible management. And also, so the responsible management include ethics, transparent and accountable responsibility or leadership. So that is also included in this the theme of the conference, and very importantly circular economy. So the economics model that aim to minimize waste and minimize reuse materials rather than the traditional take, make, decision linear model. So therefore, I think that this topic or the theme of the conference is timely important, and we have to think, work together as the transdisciplinary manner, so then only we can give a solution to a burning problem. So for an example, so we are facing the big issue in solid waste management in our country. As a scientist, so then I also engage how to manage solid waste using the scientific approach. So we need the economists and the management experts to give a very viable solution to this burning problem. It is one example. And also, so I want to highlight, so then how we can work together, because so you know in Sri Lanka, north central part of the country, 20 years before, so we identified unknown etiology of, the chronic kidney disease of unknown etiology. So that is at the beginning, doctors, the work for this problem, and finally, so they identified, so they understood, so then it is not a solution to give not a solution individually to overcome this problem. So then, so we work together, the scientists, environmentalists and chemists work together to clear up the 11 hypotheses of chronic kidney disease of unknown etiology. So now, so we are talking about, so the not isolate solution, so we are talking about the transdisciplinary research to overcome such type of burning problem. Not only that, so recently the National Science Foundation, so we initiated the transdisciplinary research approach, and we lead, the Jayewardenepura University is the leading university to inculcate this transdisciplinary research culture in our country. So I remember we started this interdisciplinary nature or interdisciplinary research in our university, the Faculty of Graduate Studies. So we have only a journal in our country, interdisciplinary research is published by the Faculty of Graduate Studies. So therefore, this nature is very important, and thank you very much for the Faculty of Management Studies to take this topic to the top priority of our academic and our research calendar. So when researchers and practitioners come together, they can share new knowledge, as I mentioned, and question existing assumptions and develop practical solution, and how meaningful progress happen, not in isolation but through cooperation and shared understanding. So that's why, so as a national university, I want to share our the engagement and our initiative for this type of transdisciplinary research. So I think all academics, we established our research council 2016, and then with noble goals to inculcate research cultures. So then we established 23 research centers in the university. Now we have another 4 new research centers for the faculty of engineering. So through research centers we have supported to some burning issues in the country. So not only the medical but also engineering, technology and science. So therefore our total investment for research is more than 1 billion. So I think when compared with other universities, Jayewardenepura University has a very strong research culture, and all our staff support to enhance research culture within the university. So that's why you are here, and your support is highly appreciated. And also I want to say, so our research publication, especially in management faculty, is growing very fast. So I have done SciVal analysis recently, so want to see the forecast of the university. So then we have taken all necessary measures to increase our visibility as well as our research outcome through our research. So therefore I am very happy the Faculty of Management Studies with other faculties, so they are increasing their Q1 publication, Q1, Q2 and Q3 and Q4 publications very high rate and every year. So therefore I want to present all the information 27th of March in our research conference, research award ceremony. So I want to thank all academics for your tireless efforts to take our university to the next best level in the country as well as the globally. So that is what I expect from academic and researchers in our university, and especially from the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce. And I think you may share the foreign experience from our keynote speaker. He also one of our alumni member, and he will give then how we go forward with this interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research. And with this note, I want to thank all the chairpersons of the conference, Dr. Manavadu and the co-chair of the conference, and Dean Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, and especially the senior professors and the senior academics of the faculty, then who guided this very strong discipline to move forward, and all academic members, and especially I want to thank the PIM staff and PIM director for their collaboration to this very important event. So then we can see very good progress, and I am as a leader and a researcher, I am very happy to see your research progress along with your academic progress. So with this note, I want to congratulate and all paper presenters. I have a special request from you. So then today you present your research finding, and you may get the positive as well as negative comments from audience, because the the people from different sector will see your research in different angle. So then take all these comments as positive comments to improve your research and to overcome the problems, and also give the sustainable solution to burning problems in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your insightful words. We now have the pleasure of viewing the ICBM video capturing the spirit and achievements of our faculty and community as a whole. It's a reflection of our shared journey towards academic and professional excellence over the past 2 decades.
University of Sri Jayewardenepura in collaboration with the Postgraduate Institute of Management. ICBM 2026 marks the 22nd consecutive edition celebrating excellence in social science research. This conference provides a dynamic platform for both national and international researchers and practitioners, fostering the collaboration to enhance the body of knowledge and contribute to societal well-being. This year's theme, Inclusive and Responsible Management for a Circular Economy and Digital Future, reflects the growing urgency to rethink how organizations use resources and digital technologies to build sustainable, low-waste, and socially just business models for the years ahead. ICBM 2026 introduces a research week, an expanded program running from February 16th to 20th, featuring an array of activities to enhance both the research and practice. This year, the ICBM Research Week comprises a series of events including the Undergraduate Research Day, the main conference, which is conducted as a discipline-based mini-conferences, the PhD Colloquium, the PIM Annual Research Conference, and the Business Forum. In addition to that, ICBM 2026 has successfully conducted the Higher Degree by Research HDR Pitching Competition and 3 pre-conference workshops designed to strengthen research capacity, scholarly engagement, and networking opportunities. The keynote speech at the main conference of ICBM 2026 is delivered by Professor Subhash Abhayawansa, Professor of Accounting and Chair of Sustainability and Innovation Research Group, Swinburne University of Technology, Australia. The Business Forum of ICBM serves as a unique platform for industry leaders and academia to come together and address timely, practical issues aligned with this year's theme, Sri Lanka Surge into the Circular Economy. The best papers from ICBM will have several publication opportunities, including consideration for a special issue in the Sustainability Accounting, Management and Policy Journal, a Scopus Indexed Q1 journal under the theme Accounting, Reporting, Assurance and Governance for Circular Economy, Rethinking for Sustainable Development. Join us as we continue to push boundaries, inspire change, and shape the future of business and management research.
And now, it's my pleasure to invite Professor Dushan Jayawardenepura, the Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, whose guidance continues to lead the faculty forward to address the gathering.
Good morning. His Excellency Dr. Putra Bahadur Nepali, the Ambassador of Nepal to Sri Lanka, keynote speaker for this morning, Prof. Subhash Abhayawansa, Dr. Isuru Manawadu, and Dr. Sepali Bamunusinghe, conference co-chairs ICBM 2026, Director PIM, council members, deans of the other faculties, librarian, Professor Hema Malika, Commission Member, University Grants Commission, senior professors, academic staff members, paper presenters, librarian, and distinguished invitees. It gives me a great pleasure to speak few words at this very special occasion of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of University of Sri Jayewardenepura, who has made the history of higher education in Sri Lanka when it comes to business and management education. Nearly 67 years ago, erudite monk Valuvitie Soratha conceptualized a different kind of education for people who engage in managing businesses, running businesses at the time, which I'm sure was laughed at. What sort of degrees are we giving to so-called business people? But today, after 6 decades, we are thinking so forward and gathering here to have a scholarly discussion under the topic of inclusive and responsible management for circular economy and digital future, which is what we consider as the foundation of our research journey and also the curriculum development. With that line of thinking, the faculty today, with more than 100 PhD holders, 70 professors, have been discussing over the years how we prepare ourselves for the future. Future as we see today, in about 30 years' time, in about 50 years' time. So it is with that inspiration, with the leadership of Dr. Isuru Manawadu and Dr. Sepali Bamunusingha, the faculty wanted to have a deep scholarly discussion, research-based, information-based, facts-based discussion in order to drive our research journey and curriculum development. As the Dean, it is my responsibility to acknowledge co-chairs and the leaders of the faculty who have driven our faculty with the humble inception of our first research conference in 1999 and then 2001 with a very sharp development in the academic research journey we had in 2001. While acknowledging all their contributions, I must also take this opportunity to appreciate and acknowledge the great leadership of the 2 co-chairs and the collaborative work put forward by the team members of ICBM 2026. And also I must acknowledge PIM coming forward to collaborate with us to have this national responsibility fulfilled. It is not, Dr. Asanga, as we think, 2 institutions, PIM and Management Faculty of Jayewardenepura, both have the same home, same family connection, but it is not the mere reason for our collaboration as we see it. We have a national responsibility as 2 leading management educational institutes in Sri Lanka to come forward and bring forth scholarly discussions with the collaboration of corporate partners to make sure that they see the future through an academic sense, through a conceptual sense, through research. So therefore, we appreciate as a faculty your contribution in coming forward to work with us. And I'm sure this collaboration will go in many more years and will have different shapes as the time passes. And also I must appreciate Prof. Subhash Abhayawansa for agreeing to be here as the keynote speaker today. Subhash and I were studying in the same department. Same year we graduated. We were batchmates. And then when I studied for my doctoral studies, he was a senior, he was a professor then at the Swinburne University. But I must confess, that your choice and you being the keynote speaker for the ICBM 2026 had no influence whatsoever from me as the Dean. It was purely based on your academic merits. We are so happy and I warmly welcome you back home. And we are so happy that we have a Sri Lankan scholar with a Sri Lankan origin who has marked your academic excellence in the global academic journey of your respective discipline, and for being humble enough to accept our invitation, and particularly for being here with us for a one month period, extending your research experience and the academic experience with the colleagues of our faculty and PIM, because this is the kind of collaboration, the way we would like to see, and that is the future we see, because we talk about the digital enabling, which will make our collaborations practically possible despite our geographical distances. So with that being said, while congratulating all the key paper presenters and contributors for the conference and the business forum, I would like to thank the two co-chairs and all the well-wishers, sponsors for making 2026 ICBM reality. Thank you and wish you a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, sir. And it's now my pleasure to invite Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, the Director of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, to address the gathering.
Honorable Vice Chancellor, who had to go for a special event at the engineering faculty, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Nepal to Sri Lanka, our keynote speaker, Professor Dushan Jayavikrama, Dean of the Faculty of Management Science, all other deans, my colleagues from PIM, the co-chairs of ICBM, the presenters of today, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to all of you. It's absolutely a privilege at the inauguration of the main conference of the 22nd International Conference of Business Management, ICBM, for us to be here as PIM. On behalf of PIM, which is also, as Professor Dushan Jayavikrama said, part of University of Sri Jayewardenepura, I extend my warmest greetings and our sincere appreciation to the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce for bringing together this outstanding research week under the timely theme of inclusive and responsible management for a circular economy and digital future. This theme reminds us that management is not only about performance and growth, it is also about responsibilities, resilience, and the kind of progress that benefits the society as a whole. ICBM has been a landmark for a long time for scholarship, debate, collaboration, as Professor Dushan Jayavikrama said, for Sri Lanka's management community. What makes it especially valuable is its ability to bring together diverse voices, researchers, policymakers, industry leaders, and professional bodies, so that knowledge does not remain within conference rooms, but moves into organizations, communities, and national priorities. This year marks the second successive year of PIM's collaboration with the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce in organizing ICBM, particularly in relation to the Business Forum, which serves as a bridge between academic research and the needs of the industry. We consider this forum not a side event, but as a powerful space where evidence meets experience, where research, informed insights can shape real decisions in business. That exchange is essential as we are into the development of management in this country and in the industry in Sri Lanka. We are especially proud of what we have achieved last year in this collaboration. The Business Forum created a vibrant dialogue between academics and the industry. There was a lot of energy, a lot of discussion. In addition, the launch of the case study book was a milestone, and I must thank the co-chairs of last year for their untiring efforts to make it happen. I am also very, very thankful that the publication process has started for a new case study book to be launched at the Business Forum this year as well. In that spirit, we are delighted to collaborate as PIM on the Business Forum and ICBM at large. The Business Forum this time with the theme of Sri Lanka's surge into circular economy. This is more than a compelling title. It is a national conversation, and it is rapidly becoming a management imperative. Another feature of this year's collaboration, as it has been always, the PIM Annual Research Conference, and I'm really thankful for the faculty for supporting us in making PMARC bigger than ever before. We welcome this direction of collaboration because collaboration of this nature allows us to share resources, broaden participation, and amplify the impact of research across disciplines and institutions. So, ladies and gentlemen, the success of the conference is not measured only by the number of sessions or the papers. It is measured by what happens after the conference. New collaboration formed, ideas redefined, research translated into practice, and young scholars inspired to continue their work with confidence. So I encourage all the participants of ICBM and PMARC to make full use of this week. Attend the sessions outside your usual areas, engage with the researchers, challenge the ideas that are presented, and take at least one insight back to your organization or to your classroom. If you do that, ICBM becomes more than an event. It becomes a catalyst for the future. So in closing, let me once again congratulate the co-chairs, the organizing committee, and everyone who contributed to make ICBM 2026 possible. Reviewers, track chairs, session chairs, academic staff, student volunteers, our partners in the industry, professional bodies, thank you very much. PIM is honored to stand with the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce in this collaboration, and we look forward to continuing this partnership in ways that strengthen research, enrich practice, and serve the national interest. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a productive and an inspiring ICBM 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. A keynote speech is the guiding force that shapes the intellectual discourse of a conference. Our keynote address today promises to be a true highlight of the conference, delivered by a distinguished scholar and a global thought leader in accounting, sustainability, and business value creation. It is my greatest pleasure to introduce the keynote speaker for our main conference, Professor Subhash Abhayawansa, a professor in accounting and the chair of Sustainability and Innovation Research Group at Swinburne University of Technology, Australia. His pedagogical expertise is recognized by multiple accolades for his innovative teaching techniques applied in undergraduate and postgraduate teaching. Professor Abhayawansa is an accomplished researcher whose primary research interests lies in the areas of business value creation, social and environmental accounting, and the use of non-financial information in judgment and decision making. He has authored over 50 publications in both academic and practitioner journals, including leading academic journals such as Contemporary Accounting Research, Accounting, Auditing and Accountability Journal, European Accounting Review, and the British Accounting Review. In 2024, Elsevier lists Professor Abhayawansa among the world's top 2% of scientists. He is also a member of the editorial boards of several academic journals and currently serves as the joint editor of the Sustainability Accounting, Management and Policy Journal, which is a high-impact journal that shapes the global discourse on sustainability reporting practice. Professor Abhayawansa plays an active role within the accounting profession through sustained leadership in two of the largest global bodies. Elected to the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants Australasian Regional Board in 2017 and subsequently being appointed to the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants Australasian Regional Panel, he is actively involved in governance of higher education institutions and professional associations in the profession of accounting. Professor Abhayawansa earned his PhD doctorate in accounting from the University of Sydney, an MBA from Deakin University, and a Bachelor of Science where he was awarded the Gold Medal for Best Academic Performance. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a very warm welcome to Professor Subhash Abhayawansa as we look forward to his insightful keynote address.
Thank you for that very kind introduction, and good morning to everyone. Ambassador of Nepal to Sri Lanka, Professor Dushan Jayewardenepura, Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, other distinguished guests, members of the Professoriate, ICBM conference chairs, colleagues, and friends. Thank you for the invitation and the welcome. I'm especially pleased to be here because I was a student at this university and graduated from it. So returning now to discuss the future of management feels both professionally meaningful and also personally grounding. When I was a student here about more than a quarter of a century ago, one of my accounting assignments slides are up? Sorry. Okay. Yeah, but one of my accounting assignments was to analyze a company's annual report. Maybe Professor Dushan remembers. We were batchmates at the time, and I hope I'm not making this up because Dushan's memory is much better than mine. I still remember this exercise. We were trained to check profitability, liquidity, and asset efficiency of a listed company. And if the numbers were strong, we concluded the company was a good investment and it was well managed. Now, what we did not ask was where the waste went, how workers in the supply chain were treated, or how much greenhouse gases was the company emitting. At that time, those issues were considered important. However, not managerial. They were not reported. They were the ambit of regulation, ethics, or public debate. Today, the situation has flipped. Companies now produce sustainability reports, dashboards, and adopt technology to collect and report sustainability-related information and impacts. They track emissions, labor practices in supply chains, or origins of material in the production process. However, do you think the extended performance measurements that companies are undertaking, which incorporate indicators of human, social, natural capital, etc., are resulting in better outcomes for society and the environment? It is not a hard question to answer if you look around, if you look at businesses and try to see what they are really doing, including the multinational companies, which sometimes we take for granted as doing the right thing. They have colorful sustainability reports, very lengthy ones sometimes, and adopt advanced digital technologies? Have we questioned their practices, their impacts? So I'll give you an example. Looks like my slide is not transitioning. Yep. All right. In 2019, workers at an Amazon warehouse in the US protested against treating them as robots. They claimed that dehumanizing labor practices were being adopted. Inside Amazon warehouse, workers were not supervised by humans. They were supervised by a system that was attached to the scanning device they were using. So the job of the warehouse worker is to pick items from a shelf and place them in a tray so that they can be dispatched to the people who ordered them. Every warehouse worker carries a scanner, and every time they scan the item, the system records several things. They include how long it took to scan the item since they scanned the previous one, how far they walked from scanning the previous item, how often they paused in between scanning, for instance, right? So the system knows, based on an algorithm, how many seconds it should take for a worker to move from one shelf to another, pick the item, scan it, and place it on a tray. If the worker slows down, then the system flags, and if a worker gets too many flags, then they might be warned, disciplined, or even terminated. However, the system does not consider whether the worker was injured, whether the worker is unwell, pregnant, or whether they stopped in between to help another colleague, or whether the labels were unclear for them to read before they scanned the item. All it sees is the deviation from the task they are supposed to perform. So the company has a very, very advanced measurement system, technologically advanced measurement system, but the outcome of that measurement can really be unfair in some circumstances to some parties, some stakeholders. In this example, measurement is precise, decision-making is automatic, but there is no accountability, and impact on employees is disastrous, as you have seen in this example. So the moral of my talk today is that circular economy practices and digital transition can actively produce harm unless organizations change. So I'm going to talk about few things that need changing. We are living through two important transitions happening at the same time, and they are the themes of this conference. One concerns how organizations interact with the environment. It is the transition from traditional take, make, and dispose model to a circular one that keeps value in use, squeeze waste out of design, and treat nature more than just a free warehouse to extract resources from. The other concerns how decisions are made. This is transition from periodic reporting and human-scale decision processes to digital infrastructure, where sensors, platforms, and AI shape what organizations are optimizing, measuring, and ultimately choosing for their decisions. But here is the uncomfortable part. I explained previously, circular practices and digital transformations themselves do not automatically produce sustainable outcomes for everyone. So let me give you another example of this uncomfortable truth. This is a hypothetical one, unlike the previous one. A company announces a circular product. It is recyclable, it contains recycled content, material, and its supply chain is monitored by an AI risk assessment tool. The dashboard looks excellent. Then you look closer. You look close at the recycling. The recycling only works because they employ low-paid, informal workers to do the sorting and repair under unsafe conditions with little training, protection, or job security. Processing waste and hazardous materials is pushed to places where there is weak environmental and labor laws. And the AI tool flags suppliers as high risk simply because they don't have the proper paperwork or they don't have proper systems to generate the information that the AI system needs, not because they are actually creating harm. On paper, the business looks circular. The digital technologies used to enhance sustainability-related decisions are perfect. In practice, it may be just relocating costs to people with less power and countries with weak social and environmental regulations. So my main aim today is to bring to your attention 3 important managerial design elements or features that needs to be retaught or rewired if organizations are to meaningfully engage with circular economy and digital transformation. So what I'm proposing is a framework which I call the 3 rewires. If a firm wants to be inclusive and responsible in their pursuit of circular and digital futures, I believe they need to rewire 3 things. So these 3 things are value, data, and governance. First, they need to rewire value by redefining what firms count as value. In a world which is different now, in a world where profits depend on healthy societies and living ecosystems. Because no one can make profits on a dead planet. Second, they need to rewire data by rebuilding the organization's information base. So it measures what matters, documents how it's measured, and allows affected parties to challenge it. In other words, managers should think what information architecture makes circular and digital claims auditable and contestable by the people affected by them. Third, they need to rewire governance by redesigning decision rights, incentives, and controls so leaders cannot outsource harm, as I explained in that previous example, and also hide trade-offs behind glossy narratives of sustainability reports. Managers should consider who decides, who benefits, and who carries the downside risks or bears the burden with circular and digital technologies reshaping work, supply chains, and social impacts. So we need to rewire value, data, and governance together, not one or two of them. This is because, take for example, if we rewire value without governance, let's say rewire value without governance and data, then what we get is just aspiration. If we rewire data without value, we get dashboards that optimize the wrong thing. If we rewire governance without the other two, we get committees that supervise mere confusion. The sequence of these three also matters. Value sets direction, data makes things visible, and governance makes change stick. Taken together, these three shifts sustainability from just a communication layer to a management system. I will first explain the rewiring of value. I will spend most of my time here because views on value are the hardest lever to shift. And there are few of them as well. So I'm going to draw on a research project that I've conducted here. In a research project that I'm currently working on with Professor Carol Adams from University of Durham, we are examining how firms are actually engaging with the Sustainable Development Goals. These are the firms that have explicitly stated that they are pursuing the Sustainable Development Goals issued by the United Nations. In this study, we examine the value logics and operational practices of selected multinational companies that have claimed to be doing sustainability and working towards Sustainable Development Goals. So after examining the value logics and the extent to which firms align their organizational practices with sustainability impacts, we mapped each company on two dimensions, which you can see on this slide. As you can see, there are two aspects to this. One is the extent of alignment between their value logic and their sustainability aspirations. And the other one is the extent of alignment between their organizational practices, such as governance, data, and accountability practices with the sustainability claims. To safeguard anonymity of these companies, I've used some pseudonyms. The main takeaway from this slide is that not all companies committed to sustainability or committing themselves to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals have logics or management practices that are aligned with that objective, even if they adopt circular economy practices, because some of these companies do adopt circular economy practices. So that was quite surprising that there was not a very good alignment. The literature we reviewed for this study, as well as the data we collected, resulted in us identifying 4 value logics, or 4 models. These are the 4 models. So the business as usual. Some of those in accounting and management might have been exposed to these models. So you can think of the 4 models shown in this slide as value logics, as I mentioned earlier. They do not just describe beliefs, does not just describe the beliefs of the company. They shape budgets, incentives, risk thresholds, and what management treats as material information that needs to be disclosed to the public and also used internally within the organization. The first model is business as usual approach. This is very similar to the approach that Milton Friedman described. In this approach, an organization's social responsibility is to deliver what shareholders want, not stakeholders, what shareholders want, while obeying the basic rules of law. So not doing the wrong thing, but doing with minimal compliance with the law, maximizing shareholder value. In this approach, an organization's social responsibility is basically doing business. So business of a business is business. That's the slogan there. Here, sustainability enters value creation mainly as a cost reduction measure or cost avoidance. This includes avoiding penalties, lawsuits, supply disruptions, or reputation damage. Circularity appears as waste management, not anything more than that, or just running a lean operation. Digital transformation appears as automation for cost and control purposes only. Under this logic, a firm reduces emissions, waste, or social harm only when regulation requires or the cost-benefit calculations justify it. Here, the firm treats sustainability as a constraint on profit rather than a value lever. An organization adopting this value logic would say that they should not do any circularity investments and investments in digital sustainability systems beyond what is required by law. So I guess you get the gist of this. Unfortunately, this is a very primitive system, but it is the system, it is the value logic that is most prevalent. And this is what we found as well. The second one is business as almost usual, which is a bit better than the previous one. Here the difference is that not only organizations try to minimize costs and comply with the rules and regulations in doing that, but they go a little bit further. They try to or take advantage of the opportunities that come from social environmental changes. But the caveat for doing all those is the existence of a business case. So unless there is a business case for sustainability, they would not engage in circular economy practices or adopt digital technologies and engage in digital transformations for doing that. The business case is paramount. In other words, sustainability initiatives must be profitable for the firm for them to adopt that. According to this value logic, the organization mindset remains profit first and sustainability second. The limitation is that circular and digital initiatives must constantly pay for themselves in the short-term financial sense, regardless of the long-term positive implications. Then the third model is there's a common ground approach. It says a business can make money and protect the planet and people at the same time. So this is based on the triple bottom line concept, which most of you are aware of. So organizations strive not only to enhance profits, but also to protect the planet or enhance the environment, as well as safeguard society. And these three things can be done at the same time. So it's a considerable shift from the previous two logics. Under this approach, firms do not pursue shareholder value maximization to the detriment of stakeholder value. This is where managerial focus shifts. Investment appraisal, for instance, begins to take or incorporate such things as social return on investment, social cost of carbon, and take broader stakeholder impacts into consideration when making decisions. In accounting terms, an organization starts to treat sustainability as part of the value function, not just a cost to minimize. A big shift. Then the last one is the eco-justice informed approach. Eco-justice here also extends to social justice. Eco-justice treats or it rests on the principle that everything is interrelated, which pushes a systems thinking into decision making. In this model, organization value is inextricably linked with social and environmental value. They are on par. So in some regards, this is similar to the common ground approach, but there is a difference. The firm does not treat nature as external here. The firm treats nature as internal to their operations. The biggest shift in thinking here is that profit is no longer the main focus. It is still an important focus, but it is not the main focus. It is not the only compass. In these firms, corporate strategy and sustainability strategy, so sustainability strategy is integrated into the corporate strategy, and if you look at these two strategies, they are basically the same logic expressed in different languages. When they decide on new projects, products, or investments, positive contribution to the society and environment sits at the front of mind. So first they look at that and then they look at profit, not the other way around like in the previous three models. So in summary, understanding an organization's value logic matters because it shapes how firms implement circular economy practices and digital transformations. And also it affects who carries the costs. Understanding the value logics helps us also as researchers and also practitioners to be critical about circular economy practices. As academics, we need to be critical. Circular economy practices and digital transformations. So if a firm runs circularity and digital transformations under models 1 and 2, you get a very different outcome. That is, you could see probably two patterns. Circularity becomes an efficiency program that can shift burden to weaker parties, and digitalization becomes a measurement and monitoring tool without accountability. If a firm shifts to models 3 and 4, the circular and digital transformation practices take this form. Circularity becomes a value creation and a risk management strategy, not just waste reduction or adopting lean operations, and digitalization becomes accountability infrastructure, not just for optimization's sake. So the first rewire is the pivot here, which is value. That needs to change first. In other words, whether circularity or digital transformation lead to truly sustainable outcomes depends on the value logic an organization adopts. And that value logic can shift. And in our research, we have seen that shifting in some companies. Now let's talk about the data rewire, the second one. Circularity practices increase data burden. These practices increase the nature, type, and the frequency of information needed for decision making. From supplier practices, supply chain management practices, product life cycles, to emissions, waste, social impacts across value chains. At the same time, data sits at the heart of digital transformation as well. So it is the common element there. Digital tools do not just speed up old processes, they reshape what organizations see, measure, and manage. So once we rewire value, the next problem is data rewiring. In practice, digital systems can do two dangerous things. So we need to be mindful of these two things. First, they can turn complex reality into a single number that nobody can question. The previous example that I gave you about Amazon is a good one here. For example, let's take an AI tool that might give a supplier a low risk rating. And a system that produces a AAA rating for their ESG performance, or a system that predicts a 90% compliance for a company. Managers like these numbers as they look good, they're simple to understand, easy to compare. But if the model is built on thin, biased and outdated data, like missing a small supplier, if you miss a small supplier, let's say you miss a few more small suppliers, you get a low risk rating. But are those suppliers really significant? Relying on self-reported surveys to create the ESG ratings. So these things can just become just a decision stamp. People follow it because computers said. So which is sort of automated authority. Now, this becomes even a bigger problem with AI. We talk about a generative discourse in relation to AI. That is, the outputs that AI produce are considered to be authoritative and legitimate. And we do not question that authority. We do not understand the algorithms, but we still accept the outputs. So this becomes an even bigger problem with the changes that we are seeing in the technological sphere. The second danger is that digital systems can create surveillance without accountability. For example, a factory app might track how fast workers pack items, like the example I gave you, record bathroom breaks, or flag low productivity. A supply platform might label a supplier as high risk because a form was not completed properly. But the people being scored cannot see the data, they can't contest it, they can't ask for explanations, or they can't even give explanations. The system judges them, but they do not get a voice. That needs changing too. So responsible and inclusive management, the theme of this conference, requires at least 4 design rules relating to data. So how data should be looked at and changed. First is traceability with contestability. If data affects people, they must be able to see it, challenge it, and correct it. Traceability is useless if it's just one way. If a supplier gets flagged as high risk or a worker gets flagged as non-compliant, they need the right to challenge that data. They need to be able to see the data trail that produced that label for them. Second is explainability for managerial decisions. If an algorithm shapes hiring, firing, procurement, or investment, that managers must explain how it works and where it fails. Third is assurance-ready data. This is very, very important nowadays because sustainability reporting has become mandatory in many parts of the world, and assurance of sustainability performance is also becoming mandatory along with that. Data must be documented, versioned, and auditable, not just exported from a dashboard. For assurance-ready data, a firm can answer 4 important questions. Who produced the number? From what source from what source the numbers were generated? And what does the number represent, or what does it mean? Final one is boundary discipline. This is very important. This means that firms must specify what the data does not capture. For example, now I have some first-hand experience with this kind of stuff. 2 firms can both say that we are reducing emissions, but one excludes a major operation that creates the biggest carbon footprint because they just drew the boundary too narrowly and they do not explain that boundary properly. So what do we think when we look at 2 companies, one having low emissions, one having high emissions? We think that the company having low emissions is the better one. But actually, it might not be true because the boundary has not been drawn properly. But it is okay to create your own boundary, but you need to be transparent about that boundary. That is the important thing. So that is the point that I'm raising here. So in short, sustainable outcomes in a circular and digital future depends on decision-grade data. Data that achieves those 4 things I mentioned. The last rewiring is governance rewiring. This decides whether anything changes and whether the changes will stay. A circular and a digital strategy fails when governance treats sustainability as just a communication layer, a compliance box to tick, or a nice to have thing that is delegated to a single team that is not talking with the rest of the organization. Inclusive and responsible management requires governance that does three things, which you can see on this slide. First is it should tie sustainability to financial decisions, not just narratives. If sustainability information sits outside capital allocation, then it is just a theater. So governance must connect, for example, raw material, now just giving some examples here, raw material transition plans to budgets, circular designs to capital expenditure, and nature and climate risk to things like impairment testing, provisions, and supply chain continuity. The accountants in the audience might understand that. Second requirement is that the governance arrangement should make accountability real. I've been talking about accountability a bit. That means moving beyond slogans like "we are committed" and showing in plain terms who owns the initiative. Okay, if you're committed, who owns the initiative, who leads the initiatives, who is getting rewarded or penalized for the consequences if the performance deviates, and what controls are there to ensure that the performance is monitored. So some practical steps for rewiring governance include putting circularity and sustainability KPIs into executive scorecards, or assigning these sustainability-related KPIs to senior executives. Using internal audit to test sustainability data controls, and requiring inclusion of sustainability considerations in investment decisions with assumptions being documented properly. Third requirement is treating reporting as organizational learning. This is my main area of expertise, reporting. And reporting should be an area for organizational learning, not just for public relations. For a long time, sustainability reporting worked like a reputation management device or a tool for legitimacy creation. Companies effectively asked in the past the question when they were thinking about information, sustainability-related information to be disclosed, what can we say about the company? That is changing, or that should change. Operations happened first, then the impacts followed from those operations, and then the report simply described those impacts. There was no feedback loop. Nothing inside the organization depended on the reports. So nothing had to change inside the organization. So reporting just communicated behavior, it did not shape behavior. Now that is not sufficient. Situation is luckily changing. As I said earlier, sustainability reporting is becoming mandatory, and that's a major catalyst for that change. Today, sustainability information is actively used by investors, lenders, regulators, and customers, and others as well, to make real decisions. They price capital, approve projects based on this information, impose requirements, that's for regulators, and the customers assess risks using the numbers that are produced. Once that happens, the internal question shifts from what can we say that we do to providing decision-grade information that can be verified. At that point, the report becomes part of a control system. It starts to work like a governance infrastructure because it creates that feedback loop. Measurement detect deviation, deviations trigger investigations, investigations result in operational change, and then there is assurance to check that everything works properly. Finally, let me close with what this means for us as academics. Because the circular and digital future will not be delivered just by slogans or standards alone. It will be delivered or derailed by the managerial routines that sits behind them. So this is what I've been trying to explain in my talk today. So for researchers, the agenda is clear here. We need to move beyond asking whether sustainability is important. We already know that. Or when does it matter? We know that as well. We need to start explaining how the rewiring, which I explained, happens. So what are the internal changes that are happening, and how are they happening, and how do they hold? A better understanding of how organizational transformations occur to trigger sustainability considerations being incorporated in the organization is what is desperately needed. We should trace the mechanisms, for instance, how firms shift from a profit versus shift from a business as usual logic to there is a common ground approach, or to an eco-justice informed approach. How data systems create contestability or silence. How incentives and controls turn commitments into routines. There is a lot of opportunity to do research in this space. As an accountant, I can say that there has been a lot done in terms of research in understanding sustainability reporting externally, but not much done in understanding the management accounting side of sustainability. And that ties clearly with management more broadly, because as the Vice Chancellor explained earlier as well, sustainability is inherently interdisciplinary. The management scholars need to collaborate with practitioners as well as scholars from other disciplines to tackle these wicked problems. We also need to shape our understanding of the boundary conditions which I mentioned, which sectors, governance settings, and supply chain structures make the rewiring feasible, and which ones make it performative. Put simply, we need researchers that open up that black box around value, data, and governance. And for educators, there are important implications, practical implications. We need to teach our future managers to treat sustainability as decision infrastructure, not just something that is nice to have, not just a communication artifact. That means training students to ask the important questions. What is the value logic here? What data definition sits behind these metrics? Who can contest it? What controls are in place to test the data? Who bears the downside risk? If our graduates ask these questions, and they are fluent in asking these questions, they will be able to lead circular and digital transformations and create a more sustainable future for all of us. So thank you for your attention, and I welcome your questions and reflections. That's a good question. You're talking about smaller companies or the bigger ones? The bigger ones. Right. So I have a lot of experience with smaller companies. I'm currently doing a project on health promoting practices of businesses, looking at smaller ones. And what I see is that new entrepreneurs, they when they look for business opportunities, they start with sustainability, because there are lots of opportunities there. So they look for a problem in relation to society or environment that can be solved, and they capitalize on that and create a product or a service around it. So sustainability is at the center of that business idea. And what I see with some of the big companies that I've interviewed for this project, which I explained earlier, is that the biggest companies, they have the resources, and they are, I mean, there was one company which is one of the leading global logistics companies, and they were actively moving from that profit-centered approach to an approach which puts sustainability first, just because they can do that. They are very profitable and they can do that, and they do that not because that's the right thing to do, they do it because it's good risk management, because they are thinking long term. If you are thinking very, very long term, you need to get on board with circular economy practices, digital transformations, and other sustainability related initiatives, and bring sustainability into the core strategy. And they are doing that. So the change happens when they are focused on the long term. As long as they are focused on the short term, that does not happen, right? So that is why I was trying to spend a bit more time on explaining value logics, because that is also a constraint. It is easier said than done, I know, but that thinking has to shift. When that thinking shifts at the board level, at the senior executive level, you see the practices changing as well.
Abhayawansa, thank you for the wonderful speech, and it was truly thought-provoking. I'd like to ask you, you as an academic and a researcher in this area, how challenging do you think this would be if you are to bring this discussion to the curriculum development? Because the conventional teaching assessment methods need to be revisited as we see. So what sort of challenges do you see in bringing this discussion to the curriculum development, particularly in business schools?
Thank you, Dushan. That's a very good question. I try to do this in my classroom, so something that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. Start with cases. You describe the problem, and you can ask for solutions. And then you question the students' solution, right? So basically, encouraging them to be critical. Adopting a critical pedagogy is the best way to do this. So they need to be able to see the truth behind the numbers. I mean, as an accountant, I can't forget the numbers, right? Everything revolves around the numbers. So we give the numbers and ask students to interpret these numbers. When they interpret these numbers at a surface level, then you can ask the interesting questions. That gets them thinking. So this is how I'm adopting this. But more broadly, curriculum change. Now, we are teaching into management courses. Sustainability needs to be integrated into each and every subject. I mean, there are some subjects that might not be suitable for this, but that's a minority, but it can be done in many subjects. In every subject, you can ask critical questions about sustainability. Get students to think about sustainability in a different way. It cannot be just one subject that students learn in a course. It has to be integrated into every single subject. And if we go deeper into this, it can also be integrated into many of the topics within a subject, because there is always, or you can always find a sustainability, circular economy, or a digital transformation related aspect in a topic, and emphasize on that. Because the curriculum is very crowded, we try to brush that off, but I think now is the time to bring it forward and make it center stage.
Actually, I'm very happy to hear what you said today, and points that you spoke were very relevant and
That's a tough question to answer, I must say. If I had the answer, I would probably win the Nobel Prize. But you know, I spent a few weeks in Sri Lanka, mainly in hotels, in my stay this time. And almost every hotel that I stayed at, as I enter, they were displaying their sustainability initiatives. And a lot of companies in Sri Lanka are family-owned companies. And they have been owned for generations as well. And the intention is to own them for the future generations. So there is a real imperative there, right? If you're a family business and you care about the future generation of your family, forget about the society, then you need to make sure that your organization is sustainable. I'm talking about organizational sustainability, not social and environmental sustainability. But those two things are interrelated, right? So when the leaders get it, that, as I mentioned, you can't make profit on a dead planet. If they get that, and also society, right? Because here the society is also important. When they get that, the change happens. So what we can do as accountants is to teach the future generations. As educators, is to teach the future generation. And the future generation becomes future leaders. And when they become future leaders, the society might be different, the environment might be different, and the change will occur. And what's happening right now is that the change is happening because the environment is in really bad shape. So the desperation makes us act, but that is not good enough. Then it's too late.
Sir, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure after this wonderful thought-provoking keynote speech, most of you must be having lots of questions. But sir, we are about to begin the mini conferences now. So, apologizing from you all, I would like to thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that wonderful keynote speech, sir. We now arrive at a significant moment of this inauguration to officially mark the commencement of the academic deliberations of ICBM 2026. We are honored to invite our distinguished keynote speaker, Professor Subhash Abhayawansa, to formally launch the conference proceedings. Dear sir, may I respectfully invite you to the front of the audience to declare the proceedings of the 22nd International Conference on Business Management officially open.
Thank you. Kindly note that the post-conference proceedings will be available on the official website of ICBM in 1 week's time.
We now come to a special moment of appreciation. As a token of sincere gratitude for the insightful and inspiring keynote address, we would like to present a moment of appreciation to our distinguished keynote speaker, Professor Subhash Abhayawansa. May I kindly invite Professor Dushan Jayewardenepura, the Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of University of Sri Jayewardenepura, accompanied by the two chairs of ICBM 2026, to present the token of appreciation to Professor Subhash Abhayawansa.
Thank you. We shall now move to a special highlight of ICBM 2026. The National Pitching Research Competition is Sri Lanka's version of the Inspirus Global Pitching Research Competition organized by the International Society for Pitching Research for Responsible Science. This year's National Pitching Research Competition was integrated into the HDR or Higher Degree by Research competition, which is organized as a part of ICBM for the second consecutive time. Ms. Danisha Dimel, a PhD candidate of the University of Moratuwa, won the National Pitching Research Competition. As the national winner, Ms. Danisha Dimel represented Sri Lanka at the Inspirus Global Pitching Research Competition 2025 and won the joint second place for her winning pitch. May I now warmly invite Ms. Danisha Dimel to present her winning pitch on the stage.
Let me take you through a very familiar situation. You're browsing through a fashion website and you come across this fashion item which you really like. Then you simply add it to the e-cart. But then you get all the second thoughts. Will it actually look good on me? And you simply abandon the e-cart. This is a critical issue, not only for consumers, but also for fashion retailers associated with online fashion shopping. A very good morning to all distinguished guests. I'll be pitching my study based on this backdrop. So this is where this augmented reality or AR technology comes into play. This AR technology blends the actual environment and the virtual environment. And this allows us to have virtual try-ons in fashion retail. So despite the growth that we see in the global AR market, still there are concerns regarding how consumers perceive these AR applications. So this is particularly important because Romano and others found that not all consumers are equally ready to embrace these AR applications. Also in Marketing 5.0, Kotler and others mentioned when it comes to retail setting, the digital readiness of the consumers tend to be less than digital readiness of the organizations. However, later in Marketing 6.0, Kotler and others found that Generation Z consumers are labeled as digital natives. But still, it is not clear how these tech-savvy Gen Z consumers perceive these AR applications in fashion retail. Therefore, in this study, I aim to explore how ready these Gen Z consumers are in perceiving AR applications in fashion retail, and also how likely they are to share this experience with others on social media platforms, which leads to online brand advocacy behavior. So for this, I integrate extended stimulus organism response as the broader theoretical framework, and this study will be carried out as mixed method research design, where data will be collected from Generation Z consumers in Sri Lanka. And also due to the fact that AR in fashion retail is still very novel in the Sri Lankan context, I intend to use this international fashion brand which has embedded AR applications in their website so that respondents can actually experience how these AR applications in fashion retail works before responding to the questionnaire. So what's really new in this study is this study aims to identify how AR can drive online brand advocacy in fashion retail. And also, this study acknowledges consumer differences in embracing these novel technologies by integrating technology readiness. And this study will contribute to the fashion retailers, those who are looking forward to adopt AR applications in their online platforms. And that is the end of my presentation. And I would also like to convey my gratitude to my two supervisors, Professor Dinesh Samarasinghe and Dr. Nuresh Eranda, and also to University of Moratuwa, where I'm reading for my PhD. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Danisha. And as we conclude the opening session of the 22nd International Conference on Business Management 2026, I cordially invite Ms. Natasha Kaumadi, the Co-Secretary of ICBM 2026, to do the honors of delivering the word of thanks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As we conclude the inauguration ceremony of the main conference of ICBM Research Week 2026, it is my privilege to deliver the word of thanks. First and foremost, we extend our deepest gratitude to our Vice Chancellor, Senior Professor Padmalal M. Manage, for his inspiring presence and continued leadership in strengthening academic excellence at the University of Sri Jayewardenepura. We are also sincerely thankful to His Excellency Dr. Purna Bahadur Nepali, Ambassador of Nepal to Sri Lanka, for honoring this occasion and for supporting academic and international engagement. Our appreciation is extended to Professor Dushan Jayavikrama, Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, and Dr. Asanga Rana Singha, Director of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, for their guidance, encouragement, and unwavering support in making ICBM Research Week 2026 a success. We respectfully appreciate Professor Subhash Abhayawansa, our keynote speaker for the day, for your graceful presence. We gratefully acknowledge the distinguished deans of other faculties, esteemed academics of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, academics of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, and all our distinguished invitees for their valuable presence and scholarly engagement. A special word of thanks goes to our plenary speakers, session chairs, discussants, and reviewers whose intellectual leadership and constructive engagement elevate the quality of dialogue and scholarship at this conference. We also extend our sincere appreciation to all research and presenters. Your work is the heart of ICBM 2026, and your commitment is what transforms a conference into a genuine platform for knowledge creation. We also acknowledge with gratitude the dedication of our administrative and non-academic staff, our sponsors, partners, and student volunteers for their commitment and support. As we move forward with the sessions of the main conference, may the conversations we begin today go beyond presentations and become partnerships, policy ideas, and practical innovations that reflect our theme, inclusive and responsible management for a circular and digital future. May this week strengthen not only our research outputs, but also our shared purpose as a scholarly commitment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As the inaugural session draws to a close, I have a few announcements to make. Refreshments are arranged in the adjoining room outside this conference hall. You can have your refreshment and proceed to the mini conferences that are organized in order to provide an opportunity for in-depth research engagement in specialized areas of business management. As you can see on screen, there are 10 mini conferences organized based on various management disciplines at 10 different locations. The mini conferences will start after this session. At the end of the mini conferences, please note that the lunch will be arranged at the ground floor of the new faculty building.
With that, we mark the conclusion of the inaugural session of the main conference of ICBM 2026. Thank you, and to officially conclude the event, please rise for the national anthem.
සිරිසෙත සදනා ජීවනයේ මාතා පිළිගනු මැන අප භක්ති පූජා නමෝ නමෝ මාතා අප ශ්‍රී ලංකා නමෝ 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 මාතා ඔබගේ අප විද්‍යා ඔබමය අප සත්‍යා ඔබගේ අප ශක්ති අප හද තුල භක්ති ඔබ අප ආරෝහේ අපගේ අනුගාමී ඔබ අප ජීවනයේ අප මුක්තිය ඔබගේ නව ජීවන දෙමිනේ නිතින අප පුබුදු කරන් මාතා ඥාය දීන වඩවමින රැගෙන යනු මැන ජය භූමි කරා එක මවකගේ දරු කැල දැවිනා යමු යමු වී නොපමා ප්‍රේම වඩ සැපදේතු දැරදා නමෝ නමෝ මාතා අප ශ්‍රී ලංකා නමෝ 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 මාතා අප ශ්‍රී ලංකා නමෝ 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 මාතා
Thank you.